Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 5th edition Vampire the Masquerade tabletop role-playing rules by World of Darkness. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Listeners should know that this podcast is intended for a mature audience and will include strong language and mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and so forth, that may bear resemblance to entities living, dead, or undead is strictly coincidental. My name is Rena Henze, and for tonight's game, I will be your storyteller. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special all-cast episode of our interludes in between seasons for the Old Ways podcast Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle. We are in between what happened with the events of the Blood Moon and the events of Season 2, and tonight we are bringing our entire coterie back together for you. But before we can do that, we need some introductions. So, to my right.
Hi, this is Mike, and I play Marcus Voss of Clan Bruja.
Also known in some circles as Baron Voss.
Maybe.
And to Marcus's right.
Hi, I'm John. I'll be playing Vince Markovich of Clan Tremere.
Indeed you are. And at the end of the table.
Hi, my name's Tegan Gilbert, and I'm playing Rom the Shaman.
Yes, who's on a boat, apparently.
We have Christmas lights.
Yes, I'm sure Marcus loves that. And to Rom's right.
Hi, this is Ali, and I play Katerina Bogdanovich of Clan Toreador. And I have a new house.
You do. And a housemate or two. So that's nice. That's an update. And last but not least, we have...
This is Tiffany, and I play Alex Giovanni, and I'm still in the same place.
More or less. We'll see how long that lasts for you. All right. So we are raising the curtain this evening on December 24th, 2022. So a little over a month and a half since the events of the Blood Moon. Everyone has been a very, very busy little vampire running around San Francisco taking care of things to a greater or lesser extent. It is about 5:15 p.m., sunset in San Francisco on this cold, drizzly Christmas Eve. And I would like all of you to give me rouse checks with no extra dreaming dice for once.
That's a 5.
Ooh, Marcus is getting a little hungry this evening.
So I take it a 2 is bad.
Yes, so Rom also increases his hunger.
Oh, wait. I also... I rolled a 1, so...
Okay.
I got a 10.
So Vince is very, very hungry this evening. It's been a bit maybe since you visited some windows.
Mm-hmm.
And Katerina, you're doing just fine. Got things under control. You're feeling more in control ever since you moved in. This is okay. How about you, Alex?
I failed.
So we have 4 slightly hungrier vampires, and then Katerina, who is maintaining her iron-willed control over everything. So, Marcus, you wake up on this particular Christmas Eve in your new haven. It's a bit chilly outside. The weather's calling for rain, pretty heavy rain this evening. The Union has the night off because of Christmas. Not that it particularly matters to you at this point, considering you're dead, but, you know, the humans do like to celebrate their holidays. So they're off for the night, and not a whole lot of paperwork, union business, etc. to be done over the holiday weekend. So what is Marcus planning to do this evening as you're waking up feeling a little hungrier than you were when you went to bed?
That's an excellent question. I think it would behoove me to perhaps take a walk. See, even in the rain, there are some of these humans who will still engage in this exercise tomfoolery. Nothing like a good rouse of the human blood with perhaps some aerobic exercise, and no better place than our, the domain to find them, especially given how easy it is to hunt here now.
Quite. So, you go out on the prowl, so to speak. It is raining, not as heavy as it's supposed to later, but it is a decently chilly rain. And you're not really expecting, as you go out into this dreary weather, to find anyone out exercising, but you do find, actually, a person you recognize who looks at you like she thinks she should recognize you, but she's not quite sure, but she's jogging down the street near your haven and can't quite... She looks a bit confused, and she just sort of stops and takes an earbud out, pushes her long blonde hair out of her face. Do I know you? I feel like I know you.
Know me? No, I'm from around these parts.
You just look kind of familiar is all.
I smile. Little cold for a run, huh?
Yeah, I just really felt like I needed to. I don't know. So you get the urge, and sometimes nothing can satisfy you unless you satisfy that urge, I guess. A little strange, but, here we are.
Cock an eyebrow at her. Urge? I know something about that.
Her brow furrows a little bit.
I think we have met before, actually. I take another step closer.
She's still kind of like jogging in place just to keep the...
Blood flowing. Certainly. I don't want her to stop that.
Yeah, it's just so strange. I could swear. Like, are you Catholic? Do you go to St. Mary's? Is that it? No.
No, but I've been by St. Mary's. Not in so much, but by. Maybe you saw me walking there at some point. Maybe it was down here on the boardwalk. Who knows?
She just starts nodding slowly, and she looks like she's trying very hard to remember something, but it's just sort of eluding her, and it's causing her a little bit of stress.
I'm going to, with just the slightest of smirk, I'm going to say, you jog quite a bit down here. Did you ever do any sprinting when you were younger?
Oh, yeah, I was track and field in college. Got a scholarship even.
Really? Fascinating. I'll lean in a little bit and lock eyes with her. Sort of say, why don't you see how fast you can run?
Her body language kind of tenses up, and she pulls away slightly.
And I'll see how fast I can run. And I point down the boardwalk. And if you beat me, I'll give you $100.
She just kind of looks you over. She's relaxing slightly, but not too much. You don't look like a runner.
Oh, I'm not. But I do enjoy a good chase.
She looks very uncomfortable.
I fish into my pocket, pull out the $100, let the rain sort of tap on it a few times.
All right. You're on.
Good. Say when.
I'll count down from 3. And she just looks at you. You know she's not wearing a wedding ring. And she smiles a little bit more flirtatiously now. She seems a little bit more at ease.
Sure.
3, 2, 1. And she just takes off.
I don't move for a good half second. Because this is exactly what I want. I let her get a lead. And then I run after her. Because to sort of absolve the alley cat portion of my predator type, I have to be chasing someone. And then I engage and chase.
She doesn't pause to look behind her, but she hears you coming up behind her, and you can smell the kind of confusion coming off of her because she was convinced you didn't look like a runner. You said you weren't a runner. She doesn't quite understand what's happening.
I do my best to drink in the confusion, especially when the pheromones begin to sort of tingle with the fear sensation of being caught. And that's what I'm after. That's the sort of drug that I need. And once I get it, then I get up alongside her. And as soon as I pull even with her, I'm going to do my best to get her attention. And then I'm going to absolutely just hit her with entrancement and stop her in her tracks.
She turns her head slightly as she sort of senses you coming up alongside her. And she looks as if she's about to say something. And she sees you.
Mm-hmm. I'll simply say, "You do remember me." And that's what I'm going to use my entrancement power on her and see if I can get her to completely halt all physical motor functions.
I believe you need a rouse check for that. So
Yep.
Please proceed.
One rouse check. Dangerous when we're hungry, but we got a 9, so we're okay.
Right, so you bring the full force of your entrancement to bear on her, and she just looks at you. I do. And she just sort of stops, almost skids to a halt, just with how quickly you turned on the entrancement, and she just sort of stops, and her feet slide a little bit in the rain and the damp pavement, but she holds still, and she's just looking at you, wide-eyed, her head cocked to the side.
It's all right. You're pretty fast. Just not fast enough tonight.
Yeah, you're really fast. You should be in the Olympics or something. And she's just staring at you. She can't break eye contact.
That's okay. The boardwalk is usually fairly open, so we'll find ourselves a convenient alley, and I'll commence feeding.
So you lead her off into a side street, not hard to find down in the docks, especially on a very, very rainy and cold December evening. And she just keeps looking at you and doesn't move as your fangs sink into her throat. And she gives this little moan.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear her say, "That's what it was." As
Yep.
she sinks into bliss and you satiate your hunger for the evening.
Yes, I do so continue with the same time-honored tradition of properly attending to her afterwards, making sure she has a ride out back to her home. So that way she doesn't get left in the rain. We wouldn't want that.
Definitely not. So you make sure she's seen into a car, an Uber that pulls up. She's got the Uber app on her phone, so it's easy to call one for her. And you help her into the car, and she just kind of goes, "That was nice," as the door closes and the Uber drives off.
Well, who knew Uber would be so useful? That said, we have many things to accomplish this evening.
You do indeed. What's at the top of that list for Marcus this evening?
I think it's time to bring some people back together. Perhaps perform a sort of, Yuletide reorganization.
So it's time to get the squad back together, is what you're saying.
That's correct. My first call will be to Alex.
Excellent. So, Alex, you've woken up this evening. You're still in your old apartment building where you've been for decades at this point, out in the main part of San Francisco. And you're waking up feeling a little bit peckish this evening. Not super hungry. It's not like you're going to go off on a rampage, but you do feel the slight gnawing at your insides. And it is a brand new night. What is Alex doing?
I'm probably gonna stop and see Eddie and his new roommate and get my meal to go and just check in on them and then pick up my donation.
Okay. So you go over to the building, and Eddie doesn't answer the door. And you remember Eddie's away at his parents' place for the holidays. Stupid little human holiday things. But Luz, your new hacker, is upstairs, and they mentioned that they don't have any plans for the holidays. They're not on speaking terms with their family. So they should be upstairs with the donation, you hope.
Okay. Well, I will go upstairs and check on them.
So you knock on the door, the secret knock that you've arranged. You've only seen Luz a couple times since you hired them, but you've gotten them installed in the new building upstairs from Eddie. And after a minute, the door unlocks, and Luz wheels their wheelchair back from the door so you can come in. Luz is a petite Hispanic person with long braided black hair. They're wearing jeans and a faded old band t-shirt. And they've got a large snake draped around their shoulders, and they're just sort of petting the snake on the head as they look up at you. Happy holidays. Slight smirk.
I guess if you celebrate.
I don't. But whatever.
Who's got time for that?
Come on in.
Oh, thank you.
And they close the door and lock it up behind you.
How are things? How are you getting settled?
They nod. It's like, it's more accessible building than the last one I was in. Nice big elevators. That's pretty great. Also, DoorDash doesn't have any trouble finding the apartment, which is also helpful. And they just sort of smile. Nice having space for the snakes. And they point towards one side of the living room where you just see multiple snake terrariums set up. Like, it's pretty nice. Nice and quiet. See Eddie occasionally. I like his cat. But yeah, work's going pretty well. I appreciate it. No complaints.
Good. Good. I'm glad you're having a good time here. I just stopped by to pick up my donation and then, yeah, make sure you didn't need anything. I can leave cash if you need anything.
Luz nods and just gestures towards the fridge. They're still kind of new to this part of the arrangement, so there's a slight expression you can't quite read on their face as they point towards it, but they don't say anything. Just petting the snake's head. This is Odin, by the way. And Odin just sort of flicks his tongue in and out.
Whatever makes you happy.
Snakes don't judge you.
Most animals don't. Most.
At least Odin can take care of himself most of the time. Don't have to take him on walks.
That's also true.
They just sort of snort. Imagine walking a snake.
I'll go grab my donation out of the fridge and look around the apartment, make sure it's clean, that they keep a tidy place, because
It's pretty clean. One of the perks that you give them for working for you is that once a week there's someone who comes in and does the major housework for them, the stuff that they can't do from their chair. But they're a pretty neat and orderly person anyway, so it looks like the cleaner probably came in this morning, as far as you can tell. Everything's neat and organized except for the couple snakes slithering around.
After the mess with Maxine, I do not want any more messy people.
No. And Luz, does not drink, does not do drugs, doesn't even smoke.
Oh, I'm going to ask them, are you feeding Eddie's cat?
Loki? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the keys, and they point to a bag of kibble. I go down twice a day. I'd bring Loki up here, but I don't think Loki and Odin would get along very well. They just sort of smile.
Yeah, probably not. I just know that cat means a lot to Eddie, so.
Yeah, he said it used to be a friend's cat. And now he's got him, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Very friendly cat. Happy to do it.
Thank you. And, I will make my exit. I will go down and check on Loki to see if Loki is a fetter.
Excellent idea. So you go down. You're going to have to borrow the keys from Luz, because if you remember from an earlier episode, we established you do not keep keys to your hackers' apartments.
Oh, right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, they hand you the keys, and you go down to check on Loki. And you open the door, and Loki comes trotting up to you, this giant orange and white cat. You think he's probably got a bit of Mancoon in him, just because he's so big. But he starts nuzzling you and licking at your ankle and just looking very happy to have someone around.
I will bend down and pat it on the head. And
nuzzles your hand with its wet nose.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit down on the couch and see if he is a fetter.
Okay. And how do you do that? What is your process?
All I have to do is make a rouse check, and it's just a rouse check, and then I go into a trance, and I can see what around here are fetters for.
Correct. So give me that rouse check as Loki starts rubbing up against your ankles as you sit down, chirping.
No, that is a fail.
Okay, so maybe it's that you haven't eaten yet. Maybe it's the fact that everything's been so strange lately and you still don't know quite how you feel about everything, or if you feel anything about everything that's been going on. But you try to focus on the cat, and the cat has rolled over on his back and is now batting at your shoes with his claws like he's trying to play with your feet. And you're just not able to focus on this. Would you like to spend a point of willpower to reroll?
No, I don't really have time for this, and if the cat scratches my shoes, I'm going to be upset. So I'll just shake my head and just look around the apartment and say, I'll get to you soon, Maxine. And I will then turn and lock the door.
You get up, Loki bites your foot, bites into your shoe, and then runs away. Appears to be in the zooming now. But you lock the door, and as you start to leave the building after returning the keys to Luz, you get a phone call from one Marcus Voss.
Yes.
You got spare time tonight?
As far as I can tell. I'm just grabbing a snack real quick.
I just did that. I just like to... I know that you and I are on the same page with some of this stuff. I'd like to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Okay. Especially because we have some friends who tend to freelance. And I'd like to make sure that doesn't happen with certain items.
Okay.
Also, it looks like Ram is having a Christmas party on the boat.
Oh, they might be having a special party for this time of year. I don't keep up with this time of year because the music and the lights just give me a headache. But the temple might be having a party. It's entirely possible.
On his boat. On Ram's boat. They're having a party on Ram's boat?
Oh, yeah. That's how Ram's getting extra cash.
All right, well...
I can't support everyone,
No, I trust me, I know that feeling. I guess, is it best that you reach out to Ram, or would you like me to?
Oh, I can get a hold of Ram. It's fine.
Say maybe an hour.
Where are we meeting?
The pier building.
Okay.
There's a room set aside. I'm going to do my best to collect Vince.
Good luck.
Thanks.
I mean, I've got shackles and stuff if you need to drag him along.
I don't think that'll be necessary. Hopefully, Mr. Markovich is willing to play nice tonight.
Maybe that is playing nice to him.
I don't know. We don't kink shame in San Francisco. Do you know something I don't?
There may have been things said in passing. Actually, I just know kind of how Karen was.
Fair enough. Well, perhaps we'll have to see if it's like mother like son. An hour, if you would.
All right.
Okay, so you hang up, And so, Rom, let's see what you're up to before Alex gives you a call. So you wake up this evening, Rom, and you do have a party, in fact, coming aboard your boat.
Yeah, it's a Christmas party.
It is a Christmas party, a very special Christmas party.
I don't worry about being peckish anymore. Yeah, no, I imagine that, I come to the sounds of All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey. And, because they are setting the boat up for it. We're doing the theme this year is a 1980s or 1990s shopping mall. That'll be the Christmas theme. So for this party.
Very well. So you have a little snack and get your boat ready. Your ghouls have been hard at work throughout the day. Before you went to bed last night, you gave them some very specific instructions for setup, other than stuff you needed to take care of yourself.
We have to get the Spear of Michael all shiny for this event.
So the boat is all shiny and clean and sparkling. You've got your Christmas lights everywhere that Rom has had up since December 1st. Let's be real.
November 29th.
November 20th, the day after Thanksgiving. Rom put up all their Christmas decorations the day after Thanksgiving because that's the kind of person they are, even as a vampire. And after about half an hour, after you've gone through and checked everything, just made sure it's all set up nice and neat, and the music is playing really loud and obnoxious, you see a few vehicles driving up the pier towards where you're berthed, where your boat is, and a group of vampires you recognize from your trips to the temple all disembark and start heading up the gangplank towards you, and they are all in various states of slutty Christmas attire, is what you might call it.
I would definitely call it that. Yeah, and I would be like, welcome aboard the Spear of Michael. Now, the ghouls have been snacking on Wisconsin pasteurized cheese and summer sausage all evening long. So that means they're slow and easy to connect with. So, what can I do for you this evening?
The giggling blonde that you've encountered twice just kind of drapes herself across your shoulder, and she's like, oh, so much fun. And she licks your ear.
My ear is now wet. All right. God, Rom doesn't know what to do about that. All right, sweet.
And the other vampires come piling in, and one of them, Mark, just kind of pats you on the shoulder and says, "Don't worry, we've got it from here."
Absolutely. There are gift bags in the stockings, so they have, and the batteries are also in the gift bags, so you're good.
VIP service. This is an excellent business deal. And he just sort of chuckles, and all of them immediately disperse into the various decks of your yacht. And you hear a lot of giggling and laughing and some very, very drunk sounding human sounds from some of the ghouls they brought along with them, who start singing to them along with Mariah Carey.
Oh yeah, Eric and Nora have had a ton of eggnog, so this is going to be fun.
Yes, and the party is in full swing when you get a phone call.
All right, pick it up. Moshi Mosh, this is Rom.
Rom, it's Alex.
Hey, are you coming tonight? Like, I mean, in both senses of the word.
I hate this holiday. It's loud. It gives me a headache. The lights kill me. No. We do have a meeting in an hour.
All right. Same place?
Yeah, at the building. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, no. Same damn time, same damn channel. All right. Fantastic. Do you need anything?
No.
Okay. Do you know they started putting Hypnotic in freezer pops now? It's a blue cognac. with like orange wine mixed in. It's very popular since the last couple of decades.
So this is something people enjoy.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, it's like 28%. Is that 40, 50, 56 proof? I don't do math very well. I have people for that. Anyway, so, all right, yeah, 1 hour though?
Yes, in an hour, please.
All right, cool. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. All right, I will talk to you later.
Okay.
Does Rom know where the meeting is, though?
Is it not in the Connex box?
Okay, so we're just going to leave Rom with that assumption. All right. So, Vince, Mr. Markovich, you woke up this evening and you're feeling a little hungry and you're also feeling a little cranky, but then you really feel cranky most of the time now, ever since previous events. So, what are you doing for this evening?
Vince has actually made his way to Chinatown because while there are Christmas celebrations in Chinatown, it's busy enough that you can kind of not be noticed doing what Vince is going to Chinatown to do, which is to feed from somebody's window. Vince has had to adapt in a big way, and like he's really just got to figure out long term this whole new way of feeding thing. He's still not used to it, to be honest. He's only been doing it for a month and a half. But yeah, he is going to try and find just a place to break into so he can feed. He might go up a fire escape. He's not the most athletic vampire, but he can do it.
You find a tenement building, one of these older, probably late 1800s buildings. It's a bit run down. It hasn't been super renovated. It's 7 or 8 stories, and there's a pretty rickety, rusty old fire escape, but it appeals to you because it's quiet and it's away from the lights and the brightness and all the people going around doing last minute shopping in the rain at these little shops and touristy areas. And you close your eyes for a minute and you extend your senses out, and you're fairly certain that someone up on the 5th floor is taking a nap or sleeping. Maybe they're hungover, maybe they're drunk. Definitely that kind of heady sort of scent of cheap wine. Yeah, you think maybe you can get up to them.
Yeah, these hiding senses are really useful. So, yeah, Vince is just going to... He's learned that the most important thing is to be nonchalant, and fortunately he kind of blends in. Most of the time he's not a big, striking person. He looks kind of wimpy.
And corpse-like.
Yeah, the grey skin looks better at night than during the day, or under fluorescent lighting, say. But yeah, no, people don't tend to want to look at him, is what he's found now. Because, you know, looks kind of sick all the time.
Yes, you definitely look very, very unobtrusive, climbing up the fire escape on the side of this building.
Yeah, but who's going to look at a fire escape?
It's true. So you climb up the fire escape, and you get to the window on the 5th floor, just next to this rickety old rusted fire escape. And you do see a man sprawled out on a bed in his underwear. He's snoring so loudly you can hear him through the window. He's got scraggly, unkempt hair. Smells a bit like he's probably been drunk for 3 or 4 days, just from how strong the scent is to you.
Mm-hmm.
But he's snoring lustily.
Well, I have no plans, so I don't mind a little bit of a contact high, and maybe it'll make me feel better. Yeah, Vince is going to take out his little pocket knife, and it's got one of those nice little thin blades, and he's just gonna jimmy the window latch.
You know you're gonna have to roll for that, right?
Well, I do. Oh, I only have 1 point in larceny.
Larceny and dexterity, please.
Successes, 3 out of 2. Yep, a 9, a 7, and a 6.
Fantastic. All right. So you've gotten more practiced at this, Vince, with your new feeding style. And because of the noise and the rain and everything, it's a lot easier than it even normally is at this point. And you're able to jimmy the window open without making noise, breaking glass, or really drawing attention to yourself.
It's really mostly the window, to be honest. I mean, these old windows are Vince's friends. That's why he tends to go for buildings of this type. So yeah, he's just going to go in, and he's out of habit for who he used to be. He's going to see if there's like a photo of the family around or anything. He doesn't really care, but he's like, I guess I should.
Yeah, so you see there's a photo of what you presume to be this man and a younger woman and then what looks like 2 small children. But the photo is rimmed in black ribbon. And there's a candle burning in front of it.
Vince is just kind of squatting on, like, he's doing the Spider-Man on a windowsill squat. He's sitting in, looking. He's like, I mean, I'm hungry, but is it all of them that are... Is he the only one left? Because, I mean, if he is...
Yeah, you look around the apartment, just kind of judging what's going on here. And this is a studio. Like, this is a 1-bedroom, like, and then the kitchen, and there's a little bathroom off to the side, but it's 1 room. There's no way a family of 4 lives in here. And you only see men's clothing.
Yeah.
You see massive pile of just clothes strewn across the floor. There's empty wine bottles and beer cans, and this is just an apartment that reeks of sadness and loneliness.
It's very sad. Vince is going to... Internally, he's trying to be like, well, no, I still shouldn't kill him because, well, how would I cover up the masquerade breach and all that business? But kind of be a mercy, but no. That doesn't solve every problem. And I promised Mina that I would try and not to. Like, it's really more the idea that Mina will know if she, when he comes home, what he's done. She always seems to. So he's like, I will not kill this man. I will only take the blood that I need. And he kind of hooks his finger and twists the wrist so that he can start off the remote feeding procedure.
Okay, so give me the rouse check.
Rouse check succeeded.
All right. So you begin feeding from this drunk, sad, lonely man on Christmas Eve. Just, you feel the weight of the alcohol in his blood as you drain it into yourself. And I'm going to require a willpower roll from you, Vince, because you were trying to decide whether to drain him or not. I want to see if your willpower, your decision to not to, can hold.
So 3 successes.
Okay. All right. And 10s explode, so that's 4 successes for you. So you taste the alcohol, and it's kind of comforting in a bit of a way that you haven't felt since everything that happened with Karen's death and the unforgivable sin you committed and all of those other things. It kind of numbs you a little bit, but it also reminds you of who you used to be, just a little bit. And so you're able to hold fast and prevent yourself from draining this person, just leaving him to his drunken stupor, his sadness on Christmas Eve. You take your fill and you slip out back through the window, closing it gently. The rain begins to patter against it again as you slip off into the night. Are you going straight home?
Yeah, there's not a lot for me to be doing, to be honest. Vince is kind of a homebody these days.
Yes, it's kind of dangerous for you leaving the territory to go into Chinatown, but you manage. You get back home, and someone's waiting for you outside your new apartment.
I think Vince probably picks them up before he gets near the apartment. Like, he doesn't get jumped at the door. He's always now on alert ever since a certain conversation. So I think he's going to have a pretty good guess as to who it is, just based on scent and heightened vampire sense things.
Yes, it looks rather like one Marcus Voss.
Once he figures that out, he's going to relax a little bit, and he'll go ahead and just be like, wait till it's a comfortable distance and then just say, "Oh, hello, good evening, Marcus.
Good evening.
Merry Christmas." And he kind of squints at you as he says it. He's like, "Do we still say that? Is that a thing for us? I don't know."
We need to talk.
Yeah, of course. Inside?
No. I point at the car at the curb. Get in.
No hesitation. He's just ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, I get in the driver's seat and take us on back while we're headed back towards we'll say my area, more closer to my area of town. No, we just need to get some things straight. Nothing terribly trying.
That's okay. Whatever you need.
How are you progressing?
And there's a very heavy pause before he answers, but well, I thought about the thing we talked about the clinic. I think it's a good idea. I might be able to help out in other regards. I'm hanging in there. Sometimes that's the best thing I can do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you still look pretty fucking great at me, man, but it's all a process.
I don't know, man. Nothing really gets me going. He just kind of shrugs at you. He's like, nothing that was important is important. Bit uncomfortable with that. Also, the view of everyone that I encounter as a, prey that's not who I am. That's not what I'm about. I'm trying to not do that, or at least, resist it.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to keep my head down anyway. Did you get my message about what Mallet did?
I did.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked.
Yeah. It's part of what we'll talk about tonight.
All right. If you have a message, I'll wait.
I do. Alex and Ram will be there probably, shortly. So we'll drive, for the most part, the rest of the way in silence. I'm not interested in sort of continuing this line of questioning, only because I kind of sense that Vince he's already bound up about it. So there's no reason to rake him over the coals for being a complete monster. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, pull into the pier building, make sure that we'll use the affectionate term. Rena will say staff. Shut the door behind us, the big roll-up pier door behind us, and then when you get out into sort of this almost alternate reality, which is kind of neat. So the pier building has changed a little bit, the one that we've taken over. You may or may not have seen it in sort of any iteration of its build out, but a lot of the sections inside this portion now are hardened. There are people like standing around, and they don't look very friendly.
It's just looking around like, I love what you've done with the place. It's really coming together.
It's necessity. We need it.
No, of course. Of course.
I'll take you in. And look at some of the retainers or some of the men who are there, or we'll say people. People's a better word, because we don't want to assume that they're men. They might not even be anything at all. And I'll just say to them, we should have one more car showing up. It'll be a Lincoln, likely. Let it in, and don't bother the passengers.
They nod at you, just silently. They don't say anything. They're very good at being quiet.
So I'll take Vince through a series of what almost seem like hardened doors. So we'll go in through a door that looks relatively nonchalant, like basically a pretty simple man door. And then as we get into the next door, the doors successively get a little bit more hardened until we get to a door that looks sort of like a bank vault door. And it doesn't have the big wheel, of course, but you can see that there were at one point bolts for something like that. It has a relatively simple handle, which I unlock and then open up. And that's when you can see that the door is like 6 to 8 inches thick.
It's kind of like looking at all these doors of increasing thickness, and you're just like, yeah, no, I see why you did that. That all makes sense.
Inside the space, the converted space, it looks like for lack of a better term, it looks like a trendy San Francisco loft. It's a little Spartan. There's some art hanging on the wall, probably. The one thing you do notice off the bat is that there are no windows at all. So there's a lot of lighting to make up for the fact that it almost looks like you're walking into somebody's sort of rebuilt and refurnished attic, right? So like there's a lack of immediate lighting other than sort of the drop lighting that's in here, and then there's a lack of windows, and there's I don't suppose we're in the evening, so the daytime retainers are gone. But yeah, there's music playing.
So as Marcus is bringing Vince into the New Haven, let's have a look at what Katerina's been up to this evening up to this point. So Katerina, you woke up. It takes you a little bit to get used to. Still, you've only been here for a couple weeks, and then for the month or so before that, you were in a completely different place. So you still have this moment of, where am I, when you wake up at night, and that'll probably last you for a couple months until you adjust to your new digs, so to speak. But you're feeling more in control of yourself than you have been. You are feeling more stable ever since you took care of everything with Ray and got settled. And you're not feeling particularly hungry tonight. Maybe you ate before you went to bed, but it's Christmas Eve, the night's ahead of you. You know Marcus has planned for a meeting at some point. What are you doing with the first part of your evening?
Well, since I'm not particularly hungry, I'm probably going to be going over my notes for the new farm. One that doesn't have a cover, it's just basically the same setup as before to help provide a hopefully clean and safe supply for the individuals that are, well, let's say, less appealing to human eyes.
All right, so you go over your notes. You've been working on this with Marcus ever since he suggested it, and since you had your discussion about your role in this new space. And he's given you a diagram, essentially, of a building that he's taking over, where Vince will have his nighttime clinic and where you can start up your farm as well. It'll be quiet, it'll be easy to keep under wraps, and it won't require the same degree of secrecy and paperwork and cover-up that you had to go through with your original farm. All of the strings you had to pull to keep things quiet, make sure no human digger essentially went through paperwork and found the wrong thing. You don't have to worry about any of that here. So it's a lot easier to start putting things together. You are going to have to find an entirely new staff after last time.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
There's none of them left. So,
Nope.
Well, I mean Cora, but Cora's left San Francisco. So
As one does in that situation.
Yes, after everything she went through, it's hardly surprising. So you're just going to have to rebuild your staff from the ground up.
Which is something that I'll be working with Vince on, I'm sure. Since I'm probably still going to keep up at least same process overall. Having, vampire medical staff that have worked in rehab clinics and know how to detox and all of that stuff, because it's very important. Untainted blood is preferred because then you're not worrying about drugs in the system, you're not worrying about alcohol in the system and all of these things that could impair and, make kindred make bad decisions. So it would still be that same process. We just wouldn't be necessarily as scarce for the most part as it was in the bakery. It would be more accessible.
Right, so you'll definitely have a lot more flexibility. And you'll also have easier access to a population of humans that you can work with. So you'll have to talk to Vince, but you can make it work. So you spend a couple hours working on your plans and your notes and just figuring out your action items, so to speak, who you need to talk to, what you need to do next, how we're going to get everything going after the start of the new year. And it's about 7:30 and it's time to head downstairs for the meeting. So you go downstairs into the main part of the Haven and you see Marcus showing Vince around. So Vince, you see Katerina coming in from upstairs. And Katerina, this is the first time you've seen Vince since the Blood Moon, so...
Welcome home, Marcus. Hello, Vince.
Miss Bogdanovich. And he just gives you a little formal stiff upper body bow, about 45-degree angle.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. I hope you've been well.
Good evening, Katerina.
We are waiting on Alex and Rom then, yeah?
Yeah. Shouldn't be too much longer, I wouldn't think. But from what I understand, Rom might be having a party on the boat, so who knows?
So around this moment, Alex pulls up. The evening retainers allow the Lincoln in, and they don't say anything to you, Alex, as you get out of the car. Ajax just sort of nods and pulls out his phone, gets back on Duolingo. He'll be able to keep himself busy.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get out and head inside.
So you see, once you get through all of the doors and everything, as you have before, you see Marcus, Katerina, and Vince, who, to put it mildly, looks like shit. In a suit.
I probably then barely glance at Vince because he looks like shit, and that's not my thing. So
not really, no.
I'll nod to Marcus.
Alex, where's Rom?
He said he'd be here.
Yeah, Rom, you show up outside the shipping container, and there's no sound, there's no cars nearby. You knock, nobody answers. You're just standing there holding your freezer pops and looking around. You have no idea what's going on. Is this a prank? It could be a prank.
Oh, I'm texting Alex. I'm like, can you drop me a pin? I think I'm in the wrong spot.
So Alex, as you say, he said he'd be here. You get a ping on your phone and a text from Rom asking where he's supposed to be because he thinks he's at the wrong place.
Oh, for the love of Michael. Okay. I will send him the address or the coordinates or whatever, this place, we all met here the one time.
So, Rom, you get the new address and you go, oh, that's right. Okay. I just assumed. Probably shouldn't do that. Okay. And after a few minutes, you finally make your way to the appropriate place. And you are met by two very stern, muscular-looking guards, retainers. You're not sure. They're just sort of standing there with their burly arms crossed across their chests, and they're looking down at you.
Have I not been providing manpower? Am I not sure?
You don't know who these two are.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And they're just looking at you. They were told about the Lincoln. They were not told about you.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm on foot. That's better. It's fantastic. I mean, like, I'm obviously in board shorts, and it's like
Yes.
probably like wind chill factor of like -20 or something out here. I don't know how San Francisco works in the winter.
They just look down at you.
Yeah. Yeah, is Alex here? Is everybody? Is this where they're at?
Silence.
I'm just gonna go inside.
One of them holds out a hand in front of your face and just stops you. And the other one turns and goes inside the building and just says, "Someone outside in shorts."
So yeah, if I get some sort of message, I would suppose. Is it an intercom message then?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Doesn't look threatening. Just looks a bit off. Were you expecting someone else?
yeah, long hair.
Top knot.
Let him in.
And so the brawny one turns away from the intercom, and the other one just sort of puts his hand down and just says, "You can go in." They open the door for you.
Of course.
So Rom comes in tank top, board shorts, and top knot and all of that. But interestingly enough to Marcus, Katerina, and Vince, Rom looks stunning. Like, his skin is glowing, his teeth are perfectly even and white. Like, he somehow increased about 8 levels in attractiveness, you'd say. Somehow, like, even though he's still got the same style of clothes and everything, there's just something powerfully beautiful about him.
Who did he eat?
And I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to be like,
Rom?
some of Alex's friends.
Yeah, when Rob mentions Alex, kind of think of it, they're kind of on a similar level of attractiveness here. Like, they've got the same kind of perfect skin and teeth and everything.
What do you do in February?
Hey. All right. This is better than the Connex box, and I just slosh and put down the box of hypnotic freezer pops.
Yeah, it's a little different. I make my way behind sort of this bar area that's, because we don't have we have a kitchen, but it's not what I would say is a residential kitchen for a few reasons. But there is counter space, and there are certain things here. There are some bags in the fridge for those of you who are hungry. But we have some pretty important things to discuss. I've talked to a couple of you already about sort of the way things are going to be from now on. And I mean that to say is that nothing will be the same as it was. Things are different. Some of you have changed. My own duties and scope with a lot of what will get done has changed. And it's really important that we understand, we have a collective understanding of certain things. And that's because many of us, myself included, have a big fat target on our heads. Obviously, for reasons that some of us are aware of. Vince, we know that your clan probably is not as happy as they possibly could be with you. We don't need to belabor the point, of course. You made certain decisions, and some of them were very beneficial for us. Your ability to cleanse some of the vampires of San Francisco has been exceedingly useful for the coterie and its goals. And I think that's kind of what I want to put a finer point on. I want to tell you what I'm after. Would you like to know? I'm interested very much in the removal of William Mallet from San Francisco, but not just as a person or even his Ventrue clan. I'm interested in the removal of the idea that Mallet brings. The idea that any system of kindred governance includes some sort of ownership tag. You see, the way the Camarilla view anarchs, which is what they'll call me and are calling me already. An anarch is a Camarilla word. They view me as their problem in the sense of ownership, and I simply refuse to be owned by them. It isn't about being an anarch. It's about being a vampire. And so the domain here has been built up over the past month or so for specific things for you to be able to utilize. Right? This domain has the ability for you to hunt relatively effectively. It is under the watchful eye of several different types of kindred, most of whom will mean you no harm. They simply are here to help keep the peace in a way. Should you decide to stay in one of the buildings that the domain possesses, I can make certain daytime retainers made available for you, people to watch your space while you sleep. But that said, some of you are not going to be able to take care of all those advantages. I can't offer you very much if you're aboard your ship, Ram. And maybe you don't need much, except the ability to exist there in those waters without running into too many of our gangrel brethren. For obvious reasons, Alex has a very specific part in how this will work. They and I have discussed their role, and I'll just leave it at that. But what I want you all to know is no matter what you hear elsewhere, third party, there is no rift between Alex and I. Make that abundantly clear. And my goal, should it prove to meet out in the end at the halls of Elysium, you will likely hear from others that we have a problem with one another. Maybe that we're no longer on speaking terms.
And I don't think it would hurt for you to also back that up.
Oh, it wouldn't. We want that perception. We want the perception that maybe my move to independence harmed Alex's business in a way that they didn't appreciate. Because we want Mallet and his people to talk through Alex to show what they're doing. Getting out someone like William Mallet, getting him rooted out from under our city is going to take a lot of work. It might take a lot of lives, both kindred and kind. But the difference is we have an opportunity of winning freedom from the Camarilla for a whole lot more kindred. And that's what I'm after. And you've already all agreed to be in on it. I smile. And so I don't need to ask that question again. Moreover, what I need to do is make clear what I think the domain needs. And you're welcome to gather your own opinions and voice them here. This isn't an edict. I don't like them. You're going to hear other people, anarchs and others, call me Baron. I'm not going to use the title officially. I have no interest in it, really, unless it chooses to be somewhere down the line in my favor.
I think that you should have a gathering place for any of the kindred that are in this, any of the independents out here, much like Elysium, but not the same rules, but you know what I'm saying? So that everybody can get together and talk and, then you can smell out any other actions that you don't agree with. Because, after all, kindred are kindred. and not everyone can be trusted.
I like the idea of using Coit Park as a sort of informal gathering spot, mostly because it's fairly well protected now by independent gangrel, who are more than willing to deal with any problems that might arise. Their chief is particularly, I don't know that I would say alluring, but they have my respect. That said, the clinic that we've discussed, Vince, is something that I think is paramount in a lot of ways to what I'll need you to do. I have a space set aside for it a few pier buildings down, and you'll be getting a little assistance in that regard, both as someone who can do clinical work there, a fellow kindred named Jane Doe, who I will find a way to introduce to you once they're back from their travels. And in a sort of administrative portion, Katerina will be assisting you in making sure the clinic runs as it's supposed to. I think maybe if we can do some good with some of the kind here, and even kindred, it might help maybe you walk back a little bit towards repairing some of the things that happened. I don't know if it'll work, but if anything, fixing people is generally better than breaking people. Katerina, as we've discussed before, the second version of the cleaning blood supply and its ability to filter out is going to be paramount too. And so you're effectively in charge of that.
Yes, I know.
Ram, I have a very special job for you if you're willing.
I'm always willing. Capable is a question.
I don't think so. I think capability is something that you have in spades. I know that we talked before, and some of the work that experience you've got in the technical field could be proved very useful. It's something that I had wanted to leverage before our dealing with Lamb inside Golden Gate Park, but we just never got around to. I want to build a new communication network. Vampires only.
Well, are you thinking line of sight? That would keep it off other people's grids.
I am, actually. And I think I have a very ingenious way of how we could utilize micro transmitters in that regard and place them in certain places where we'd have access to that sort of line of sight technology without anyone else being able to access it.
And the only question is how much bandwidth you need and how much traffic. But yeah.
Well, we don't need to probably do anything more than occasionally send analog messages or even simple voice data.
Oh gosh. Okay, that won't be a problem then. As long as you're not running a LAN game on it, you're fine.
No. With the extreme as being able to maybe send 15 to 30 seconds of video in an emergency sense.
How many users?
At least the coterie. And then perhaps a handful more. I want to keep it very low band and also low user.
Oh, then that won't be difficult at all. We can do that off the shelf.
Good. It needs to be small in case it needs to, say, fit on the back of a squirrel.
What?
It's a long-term plan, but one that could prove pretty useful.
You're a madman.
Yeah. That's right. Other than that, I hope the month or so that it's been that you've had a chance to wind down, all of you, really, in some way. I had an opportunity to take a few meetings with some important people that will help us in the long run. You're going to see our people at Elysium. It'll be sort of injection of independent portion like never before. As some of you might be aware, the former seneschal to the former prince of San Francisco now works for me. So you'll see Jean fairly often. When she speaks in formal situations, if I'm not there, she's generally carrying whatever message I need. She'll have a new fancy title shortly. And her role in Elysium is going to be all sorts for us. I really need her to be my presence there in certain circumstances because me going to Elysium will cause all sorts of problems. And I guess, and lastly, I would just say, be aware that William Mallet has eyes on everyone. Don't think that parking your yacht a mile off the coast doesn't mean he can't see you. Assume you are being watched.
Understood.
All right, enough. What else do you got? I sort of sit up on top of the bar. I'm tired of talking.
I'm probably going to be making an appearance at Elysium because I have to now. And have to talk to Sebastian. A lot. A lot.
Do you need a wingman?
I don't know how Sebastian feels about you, Rob. So, I don't know. Probably not, because you are known to be in cahoots with Marcus. So, not that means that Sebastian doesn't like you. It messes up the...
No, I get it. I'm a risky click.
I have to appear a certain way at Elysium. So, that's pretty much my go-to is I am trying to pick up whispers. Luther too, but I don't know how much luck he's had. Also, I need to make a visit to the park so that Luther has access to speak to his fellow gangrel.
Yeah.
That's my plan.
That sounds good. A lot of the stuff now, with the Blood Moon mostly behind us, except for the bad blood that's still out there. We're going to get the opportunity to drive a lot of this stuff. So planning and preparation is important, as is all your social interactions. Even if it means you have to spend a lot of time around Sebastian.
As far as manpower goes, are you doing all right?
I think that, I think the domain is probably pretty good for the most part. But that doesn't mean it couldn't potentially benefit from, an increase as far as the availability of herd. That's just, I know it's a dirty word, but there are some truths that are simply, they are what they are. We all need to feed.
My ghoul pack is about as large as I can get it right now. I'm being milked dry on the regular. But you have a cabin. All of you have a cabin. Board if you need one. And they're full of boxes right now, but that's just because you're not using them and I needed the storage space. But just wanted you to know. And it's all of them are below the water line. So that's good. There's no portholes.
Yeah, just like this place. I had the windows removed. It's just easier, ultimately.
I prefer the look of long velvet curtains, but, to each their own.
We can put velvet curtains on a boat. There's nothing about a boat that precludes, except for the washing facilities. But we'll figure that out. You just don't, careful what you get on the curtains. I don't have a dry cleaning facility on board.
You don't have a hand steamer?
What's that?
I'm just saying. There are ways. We can figure it out. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is there aren't going to be as many sort of regular coterie meetings like there used to be. So we might not all get together every night like we used to because it's not necessary. And that doesn't mean that we can't talk. And it doesn't mean that we can't occasionally be involved with each other's eternal existence. But moreover, for some of us, space is going to be required.
Well, and it's also not safe for all of us to be together because that leaves us vulnerable to all be attacked at once. And don't
Correct.
think that somebody isn't thinking about that, even if it's not Mallet.
Oh, yeah. No, certainly. There are more enemies than just William Mallet on the board. I mean, he's one member of the Camarilla.
If we can get to a point where we get enough people, besides the people that have already come here, but enough Camarilla members to question Mallet, and then we bring up the fact that he's in league with a Nazi, and then we have proof, that's when you're going to get the biggest bang of your, for your buck. But that's if things fall into place just so.
Certainly.
It's also an emergency just in case.
And the proof is being brought to us by Vince. So the
Okay.
But yeah, I don't want any fucking Nazis in town. That's my bottom line.
Well, and with that, we don't know if she's the only one.
That is a good point. We don't know, really. Right? So who's to say that Vanessa is the only one? Perhaps she has a cadre of ghouls that are also supporters. Hell, she might even know people on the police force. Because not every Nazi is a armband wearing SS tattooed person. Maybe they haven't risen to that rank yet. I had some rather troubling news come out from the police force a couple weeks ago. There was a rather unfortunate incident with had to deal with police brutality. And I'm having the officers looked into. It wouldn't surprise me if some similar bedfellows exist between the two. It would only make sense too, especially because they would be able to protect Van Ness's position. The law is still the law, at least as far as the kind go. And if they're getting backup from the police force, then the Tremere clan has a sort of enforcement arm for what they want to do. These are the ties that we're going to have to dig into and figure out where the actual land sits before we make moves. And that's why information gathering, subtle information gathering like what Alex will do, is invaluable. I shouldn't say invaluable. It'll have a price, but it's super important. I want all of us to get through this. It's yet another thing. It's another cycle, right? One enemy down, a new enemy emerges.
I just want to make sure that the idea stays alive, that we are not deposing one leader for another one.
What do you mean?
If we get rid of Mallet, we don't want yet another prince or another end-all, be-all king or anything else to have to be under.
Deconstruct the government.
I think that if you look south to the way portions of Los Angeles are run, and by run, I would definitely be using air quotes, there are an awful lot of independent and, we'll say, for use of a lack of a better term, anarch positions there that run without any sort of primogene council. There is someone they defer to for certain decisions, but for the most part, those portions run by themselves. Now, maybe that's partially helped because of the beckoning and the obviously the draining of vampiric numbers everywhere, thanks to the Second Inquisition and the beckoning. And so there are a whole lot less vampires to wrangle. But I agree. I don't think we should work to depose Prince Regent and put a baron in his place either. Totally and wholly goes against the entire idea of leaving the Camarilla entirely. Leaving the Camarilla, my goal was not to become a baron and lead elsewhere. It's to open up a wedge. It's to show vampires in San Francisco that you don't need a Camarilla government to survive. You need a few basic tenets that have been true since Carthage.
I don't know. I feel like any sort of stateless system that we put in without some sort of organizational leadership is just going to fall prey to other unified systems that border it.
I think it depends on how fierce the vampires here are willing to fight for their own independence. This whole two-party, two-sect system has ripped apart kindred for thousands of years. It plays out in the mortals with their politics. The reason why they can't get anything done is because it's always red versus blue. We're just simply going to deny the vampires here that choice of red versus blue. They're just going to be vampires.
That, or then you set up just a council instead of having someone. So then you have different points of view. But honestly, like, any decent kindred knows you don't break the masquerade, you don't mass kill, you don't, you don't need somebody that's gonna threaten to execute you in the sunlight just for, existing, as I look at Katerina. So,
we have a few vampires here like that.
I am tired of being told what to do when I don't belong to any of their sects. I just am, and I'm tired.
I hate to be the hippie that is arguing against anarchy, but you need some level of organization, in my opinion. So we don't have a monarch. Your council idea is fantastic. I love it. But how is that much different than what we have now with the whips of every clan?
Because all of them have been bribed or squashed under somebody else's thumb to follow certain rules that they don't agree with. I guarantee you, out in this area, if you grab a Bruja, a Gangrel, and a Toreador, they're all going to have very vastly different views, is my point, because they are allowed to. They are allowed to have opinions. So the way that it is different is they aren't being crushed by some so-called prince with the backing of a whole bunch of crazy elder kindred. They're allowed to think for themselves. So if you have a council, well, I think it's always good to have people of different opinions coming together to make decisions so that you don't basically form another Camarilla or a Savat or some other fanatical, society.
So a federation or a union.
I put my hands up. There you go. That's one of the best parts of unions, honestly. So I suppose I would just say that whatever happens after Mallet is gone, my idea would hopefully bring all these disparate shards together in that sort of council where there isn't really a government in this sense that we are used to. There isn't a Camarilla government with all of these potential areas to stab and plot through, right? There's not one leader at the top because I don't think the group needs it. And I think it's stronger without a single leader. In fact, I'd argue it's the strongest when there isn't a single leader. It's harder to chop the head off an organization when that Hydra has 9 heads.
I can see that. As long as we maintain the image of solidarity, yeah, I'm looking at you, and strength to the neighboring regions, or else we'll end up the prey.
Well, the deals in place with Oakland have so far proved pretty profitable. And I don't think they're interested at all in some sort of strange takeover. If nothing else, they want Mallet out as bad as we do.
But Mallet has proved something to you. It's not just your geographic neighbors. When you can move all over the world, how far is our notoriety going to go? Mallet came from across the Atlantic and took over.
Yeah, but not because of me. Mallet came because of the problem with Esme.
I agree with you. All I'm saying is that he came over because of a weakness in leadership. So if you're proposing an absence of leadership, it must be backed up with a different kind of strength.
And it will be. And you'll be in on the ground floor.
I am so dehydrated.
Agreed. Let's drink.
After your discussion, you all have not convivial, let's say, but at least a somewhat comradely round of drinks. And with some plans in place, you can look forward to some very busy nights ahead. And that is where we will end this interlude. So thank you all very much for listening, and we look forward to your listening ears in Season 2. Thank you, and good night.